It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We are joined on our Zoom Newsmaker line right now by the greatest national political reporter in the country, previously with Breitbart and One America News and the Star News Network, now reporting at Red State, Mr. Neil W. McCabe. Good morning, Neil.
Michael, very, very good to be with you.
You are also a veteran of the Coast Guard and have served in the Army
Yes.
for won a Bronze Star for your service in Iraq. As a military man, what can you tell us about the tragic crash of the helicopter with three crewmen that apparently sliced into a commercial jet with 64 people on board over the Potomac River just outside of National Airport yesterday?
Yeah, Mike, it's just such a terrible, terrible tragedy. And I think many of the people who are listening to you today have taken that awesome flight where you land in Washington, D.C., and out the window you see the Washington Monument and the Jefferson Memorial, and you see the Capitol. Or if you're on the other side of the plane, right, you see Arlington National Cemetery. And for a lot of people, even though it was, dark, but frankly, Washington at dark is the most beautiful. And so for many people, that landing into Reagan is almost as thrilling as whatever they're going to Washington for, whether they're going as tourists or business or whatever. And I've taken that flight. You've taken that flight. I've also flown in Blackhawks many, many times. And, I just don't know how that happens. The pilots, they measure the distance between themselves and other aircraft in what they call discs. And you try to say 3 discs away. And a disc is the size or the reach of the rotors. I don't even want to speculate. The only thing I can think of is that for the American Airlines pilots, they were looking at their fuel, they're looking at their altitude, they're focusing on the lights. I imagine one guy in the cockpit was trying to land it, and then there was another guy who was basically just sort of looking over all the gauges to make sure everything was right as rain as they flew in. And for the Black Hawk, the Black Hawk's really loud and there's a lot going on, but, the only thing I can think of is that there were blind spots there. And, if there were 3 members of the crew, maybe for some reason, all 3 of them were kind of, maybe they were focused inside the cockpit, things going on inside the helicopter, talking to each other. When they were asked 13 seconds before the crash whether they saw the airliner, they may have thought it was another airliner. And
not the one that they were approaching
that was descending,
to hit. Yeah.
I imagine descending behind them, or it's like they were coming from the north. It's right now, it's just, for the families. And obviously I'm thinking about, my dear mother would always talk about the trauma of, I believe it was in 1961 when the U.S. Olympic skating team was wiped out in a single plane crash. And, and she just said, it's just one of those things where it just, she loved skating and she followed skating, and every time in the Olympics, I would be watching the Olympics with her. She would find some reason to mention what a trauma that was and what a tragedy it was for to lose the ice skating team, and to hear that there are young skaters returning from, I guess there were some competitions in Wichita,
right? And
afterwards there was a camp for the aspiring skaters who are members of the Washington Skaters Club, and just it's a horrible situation. But I will say this, and without being political. I want to speak to the competence in the engagement that we are seeing, and maybe it's a function of being in Washington, D.C., where everybody lives there. But to see Kristi Noem and Sean Duffy and Pete Hegseth and others actively engaged, actively involved, taking responsibility, because for the last 4 years, Biden's handlers were extremely hands-off. And of course, the press gave them a free ride. We all remember, the different times that the airline system would screw up, and Pete Buttigieg, who's going to be running for Senate in Michigan, that guy would get a free pass. And East Palestine, Trump's arrival in East Palestine was maybe a week after that tragedy, Mike, and the Biden and his handlers hadn't done anything, and certainly he hadn't visited. And not only did that reboot Trump's presidential campaign, but I think it also sort of rebooted his connection with the American people.
Mm-hmm.
And he realized, when he saw the reaction to the Biden administration, all of a sudden flooding the zone, if you will, with aid and attention, he's realized, wait, I can still help these people,
mm-hmm.
and I can do good. And I think that's what really drove him, Mike.
Yeah, and you see, like Sean Duffy confirmed on a Tuesday, and then Wednesday, 24 hours later, he's dealing with this tragedy in front of the microphones. I want to go back to the issue of confirmations here for a moment. They've
Sure.
been contentious on the Democrat side, and to me, all of the Republican nominees have come across as very credible, very focused, and very much on point. Did you see the confirmation hearings yesterday of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.?
Oh yeah, I've been dipping in and out of the confirmation hearings today, and I was dipping in and out of Kennedy. I saw that Democratic governors got on a call with Chuck Schumer and said, "You're not doing enough to fight Trump." But Schumer's looking at the reality. The reality is there is no way to attack Trump right now.
Mm-hmm.
And not only does Trump know that, and the Democrats know it, but the biggest hurdle that Trump will have in this term is with Senate Republicans who have never liked him, who have never given him a break, who, the House Republicans adore him, right? When he would speak before, I remember in the 2016 campaign, he would speak before the House Republicans. There was this one day he spoke before the House Republicans, and he stayed like an extra 2 hours taking pictures with congressmen, brought their families, their kids, talking to people, taking pictures, shaking hands. It was wonderful. That day when he spoke at the Senate, he had gotten a screaming match with Jeff Flake, who is now in private life, and others. And it's like, who are these people?
Former Senator Jeff Flake.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's just say this. In 26, Senate Republicans have a glass jaw. They're defending 22 seats, and the Democrats are only defending 13. Some of the Republicans who are up, Tom Tillis, Joni Ernst, Mike Rounds, Susan Collins gets a hall pass because everybody's just grateful that we have a senator from Maine. Mitch McConnell is up in 26. Mitch McConnell announced his retirement.
Yeah, he's not going to run for re-election, right?
He announced his retirement when he voted against Pete Hegseth. I think that was pretty clear. Mike Rounds wouldn't even speak Trump's name during the campaign, and he can't stop himself. He's just so excited about all these nominees.
Excited. Neil, we're going to take a 3-minute break.
Sure.
When we come back, I want to talk about your assessment of the activities and the actions of the Trump administration in the first week and a half of Trump 47. We'll be back with Neil W. McCabe after this.
folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just one scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, Tireget.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. Donald J. Trump was sworn in as the 47th president 10 days ago at noon on January 20th. We're talking with, on our Zoom newsmaker line right now, the great Neil W. McCabe. Neil, have you seen any 10 days that have had more action, more positive energy, more good things accomplished for the United States than we've seen in these 10 days that Donald J. Trump has been in his second term?
Yeah, what was that movie? Warren Beatty had that movie Reds about journalist Jack Reed.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack Reed wrote that book, 10 Days That Shook the World.
Yes.
About how Lenin and the Bolsheviks just ran the table. Mm-hmm. On he didn't overthrow the Tsar. He overthrew
the interim government there. Yeah,
not Zelensky. Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My mother took a course with this guy at Tufts, and I should know it, but I'm sorry. Anyway, these were 10 days that shook the world. Trump knows that the clock is running, and the last days of George W. Bush, that guy couldn't wait to get out of the White House. Basically, we're just tired of that guy. Just move on. Get out. It was that basically the George W. Bush's administration ceased to exist after Katrina. I would say that the Biden administration ceased to exist after the double whammy of telling everybody they could drop their masks in July of 21. No worry about it. You get vaccinated. You're good to go. And then, sorry, it turns out if you have a vaccine, you can get COVID anyway. So what was the point? And then, of course, they screwed the pooch in Afghanistan. And after that, it was pretty much over. And so who knows how this thing is going to end with Trump. But what we do know is that he is not wasting a single minute. And it's wonderful. And I'll tell you what else is wonderful, not really political, but that line, the king and the land are one, right? And with Biden, the king was sick. The king was confused. The king was talking to ghosts. The king didn't know what door to use. The king was befuddled. And the nation was lost and befuddled and meandering like its king. And now we have a king who is strong. He is smart. He is vigorous. And the nation is responding. And our animal spirits are re-engaged and reignited. And I'll also say something else about the president as a monarch. It is wonderful that he and Melania and Barron are presenting as a very happy and together first family. I think in the first term, there was some disconnects where maybe Melania wasn't on board completely. She was worried about her son. Her whole focus was her son, Barron, getting him through high school. With Ivanka, there was some, Ivanka's working in the White House, his first daughter, presenting herself as sort of a princess, and sort of, so Melania just didn't have the stomach to be constantly elbowing Ivanka out of the way. And so she kind of withdrew from her public role. Not the case today. Melania and the president are a happy, engaged couple, and their son Barron is front and center. And the top three Trump kids who always were in the headlines, they are no longer in the headlines. They are no longer in the stories. Everything is about this kid Barron, and it's wonderful. I think people are absolutely responding to this, and it's nothing political. But when we think about President Kennedy, a lot of times when we think about President Kennedy, we think about him with his kids running around the Oval Office, and you think about him, with his beautiful wife Jackie, and it was something else besides politics and policy.
Exactly.
And I think that Trump is giving us something absolutely wonderful for the age of Trump, Mike.
You mentioned President John F. Kennedy, and I just have to go there on this one.
Sure.
So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father, Robert F. Kennedy, was his brother of President John F. Kennedy and served as Attorney General and then Senator from New York. His cousin, the daughter of John F. Kennedy, Caroline Kennedy, went out the other day, on the day before the hearings, and put out this vicious, nasty 6-minute video in which she called her cousin, Bobby Kennedy Jr., a predator, and went down through all the terrible, awful things he did. And what's your reaction to Caroline Kennedy just trying to completely destroy her cousin, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.?
Well, she basically accused Bobby Kennedy Jr. of being a boy. And boys don't like girls because they throw rocks and they climb trees and they kick, instead of playing nicely in the sandbox, they kick the stand, and they throw, in these classrooms when they try to make the boys play with dolls, they end up hitting each other with the dolls, right? So Bobby Kennedy is a boy, and a lot of times girls don't like boys, the way they behave. They want to tame and domesticate the boys, and that's really not that's beyond the scope of this course. It's not really on the syllabus. I will say this about Caroline Kennedy, who experienced personal tragedy in her own life with the loss of her brother, and obviously the loss of her parents, and of course the tragic loss of her father, the way it was done, and having to turn on the TV, never knowing when your father's murder is going to be played in front of you without warning, right?
Again and again and again and again.
Having said that, she is a dope. She is an absolute idiot. You went to school in Cambridge.
Yeah.
And you know she went to
I met
Lesley
her.
College.
I met her once.
I'm sure.
And
How'd that go? Did you buy her a drink? That's usually how these things went down, from what I understand.
No. It was a setting with other people, and
She went to Lesley College, which was basically a stenographer's college in Porter Square, whatever. It's like
she went to Radcliffe. She went to Harvard Radcliffe. But
whatever.
But yeah, she had a little bit of an entourage, and they were all,
Hey, she's a moron. She was a moron. You'd never hire in your own company, okay? Unless you were, it's like, please. And so I don't want her to have anything to do with the government, and that's fine. She can give tours of the library. I'm fine with it. But, who cares what she says about her cousin?
So it's interesting, the comparison to John F. Kennedy. I've thought about this before. John F. Kennedy had the New Frontier, and he said, famously, he said, in a speech at Rice University in 1962, and I'll do the Kennedy accent, "We will put a man on the moon before the end of this decade." I think that's how he pronounced it. And yeah, there was a man on the moon, 1969. There is a bit of a golden age New Frontier, right? Golden age of Donald Trump's America. And this time we're going to put the stars and stripes on Mars. Do you see that kind of, I don't know, Kennedy-esque optimism in this Trump 47 administration?
I mean, I see it, and certainly Trump has always embraced the symbols and the language, but now he's even more so as he thinks about his legacy. I just don't think a trip to Mars is, basically the space program was a way for Democrats to spend billions of dollars without giving it to the Pentagon. So all the peaceniks could vote for pork projects. And so you could hire all these people and buy all these big rockets, and nobody was killed. And so the peaceniks could participate in pork projects. And that's basically what the space program was to me. But, you talk about Kennedy, right? There was that documentary PBS used to run every year, right? Years of Lightning, Days of Drums, about President Kennedy. And it was such an event that every family on my street, every family in my town would watch it. And the next day at the bus stop, we would all talk about President Kennedy and the documentary we just watched about the Years of Lightning, Days of Drums. These are days of lightning. And it's absolutely amazing to watch how Trump is flooding the zone, and he did not waste his exile. I mean, I think that's really critical, that there was a lot of intellectual firepower that was put together, and they knew exactly when they go into DOJ or EPA, they know exactly who to fire. They know exactly how to fire them. They know exactly who to reassign to a rubber room. Right? And say, fine, we can't fire you, but you're just going to sit here,
draw your salary, and
you want to retire.
Send us your email. You're going to resign, and we'll give you, 9 months severance.
Exactly. And so this has all been thought out, because the first transition was in the hands of Chris Christie, who frankly was more concerned about donuts than he was about the Trump transition. And it was very run and gun. What are we going to do now? And then you ended up with Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. And so, please. And let me just say something about these Democrats.
Yeah, go ahead.
Blumenthal, Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut, going after Kash Patel. When Blumenthal was the 30-year-old U.S. attorney at Hartford, he started a friendship with a 16-year-old girl he met at a tennis club, and he had the decency to wait until she was 18 to marry her. I mean, it's like, that guy is such a, and he lied about serving in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And when he was and it's like, you talk about Elizabeth Warren, who pretended to be a Cherokee Indian.
Didn't work at all.
All the way up the line. What are you going to do, Mike?
Neil W. McCabe, thank you for your expert analysis. We'll talk to you again next week. It's a delight to have you on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Thanks, Neil.
All right, be good, Mike.
All right. We'll be back with more after this.
Tennessee to stand up for our children. They deserve a chance to succeed. President Trump and Governor Bill Lee are fighting to make that happen.
We're fighting for school choice, which really is the civil rights of all time in this country.
Every Tennessee family should have the power to choose the best education for their children.
School choice gives every family the opportunity to set their children up for success.
Educational freedom gives families the opportunity to select what works best for them. President Trump and Governor Lee understand that education freedom is not just about better education. It's about opportunity. It's about giving every child, no matter their zip code, a chance to succeed. Tennessee's time is now. It's time to make universal education freedom a reality. Stand with President Trump and Governor Lee to fight for Tennessee's children. Paid for by
My
Yes.
fellow Americans,
Every
my
kid.
good friends, I've known them for a long time. At DT McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. DT McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it, believe me.
Hey there, this is
Impersonator
Lenny McGill,
not endorsed by
founder
Donald
and
Trump.
CEO of the Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Okay, so Donald Trump has been holding a press conference on this crash, this fatal crash last night in Washington, D.C. An American airline flight with 64 people on board, 4 crew and 60 passengers was hit by a Black Hawk military helicopter that had 3 crew members on board. All 67 are dead. They are in a recovery operation now. Trump had an opening statement. We're going to play that opening statement, and then, because, just because, we're going to play the dinosaur media at CNN trying to attack him for that statement. So let's start off with clip 26, Donald Trump this morning.
Executive order restoring our highest standards for air traffic controllers and other important jobs throughout the country. So it was very interesting. About a week ago, almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful, on restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. They have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. But we'll restore faith in American air travel. I'll have more to say about that. I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article.
Okay, so he starts off with that. And then CNN's Caitlin Collins just couldn't help herself. Here is her question of Trump, clip 27.
Names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people, you mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference? They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question. I'm surprised coming from you. Please.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for being here. Based on your analysis so far.
Okay, so the dinosaur regime media trying to go after Trump. Now, by the way, for those of you here in Nashville, and we've talked about this before, the regime media at the national level are terrible, dishonest, and they have been exposed. The problem with the news right now is the relative dearth, with the exception of the Tennessee Star here in Tennessee, and in the other states where we have state-based news sites such as the Georgia Star News, the Virginia Star, etc. A lot of local news now is television news in particular is not local. It is television stations that do your 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock nightly news are owned by these publicly traded large corporations that are leftist. And I'm talking about Nexstar Media, which owns here in Nashville, owns WKRN, the ABC affiliate. I'm talking about Nexstar, which owns News Nation and The Hill, obviously left-leaning. And then you've got Scripps, which owns News Channel 5, which is left-leaning, and Gray Media, which owns WSMV, Gray Media, left-leaning. So you've got all of these large corporations run by people that are, left-leaning, who are basically taking leftist journalists and putting them into local news and then kind of trying to present that as news. And it's not the case. Here in Nashville, we have a propagandist political hack at News Channel 5, the Scripps-owned station. His name is Phil Williams. And late last night, he put out a tweet that, in essence, blames Donald J. Trump for the air crash. Now, after he was called out for that, he took it down and said, people misinterpreted what I said. No, Phil is a leftist political hack and always has been a leftist political hack. And that's kind of, that is the go-to move of regime media at both the national and local level is to try to politicize this. And it's just the wrong thing to do. I mean, this is a tragedy. It's the worst air disaster in, I think, 15 years. We will find out what caused it, how it happened, and it will be fixed. It doesn't help the 67 people who lost their lives last night. But nonetheless, politicizing it, bad move, very bad move. All right, speaking of politicizing things, so Kash Patel, really good guy, we've had him as a guest on our program, has been nominated to be the head of the FBI. And he's had some hearings, and I'm going to play this one right now. Amy Klobuchar, who is the leftist Democrat senator from Minnesota, wanted to go after him this morning, just about an hour ago, and we got the clip of that interaction. Here we go, clip 25, Kash Patel responding to Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota.
If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
Okay, I'll say them again.
Okay. Before I call Lee.
Mr. Chair, just parliamentary inquiry, and it was on time. It wasn't disputing any of the debate, but.
Okay, so what was she giving him a hard time for? I think it was because he said we should tear down the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. and move it outside of Washington. I kind of think that's a good idea because all these very bad things were happening, particularly on the 7th floor of the FBI, where all of the Trump haters were and have been. All right, we've got another clip of Kash Patel. I think it's his. I think it is maybe his opening statement. Clip 24.
In the collective, all of those statements are taken out of grotesque context. And anyone that thinks my 16 years of service isn't exemplary on how I would proceed if confirmed as FBI is intentionally putting false information into the public ether and creating more public discourse. The only thing that will matter if I'm confirmed as a director of the FBI is a de-weaponized, depoliticized system of law enforcement completely devoted to rigorous obedience of the Constitution and a singular standard of justice.
Okay, he's taking it to them. Now, speaking of a singular standard of justice, I am looking forward to that singular standard of justice applied to me individually and the Tennessee Star, because, and then our former reporter, Matt Kittle. What am I talking about? Well, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the FBI's refusal to follow the law under the Biden administration and release what's known as the Covenant Killer Manifesto. And this, of course, is fascinating because March 27th, 2023, Audrey Elizabeth Hale, a 28-year-old self-described female who self-described as a transgender male, walked into her former elementary school, killed 3 9-year-olds and 3 adult staff members before she, in turn, was killed by brave members of Metro Nashville Police. Now, she left behind 90 pages of a journal that she wrote from January until March of 2023. She left that behind in her vehicle. And then in her house, she left about another 1,000 pages. We immediately, I individually, sued Metro Nashville Police Department to get that. But the FBI also had it. So we had to sue in federal court the FBI to get those documents. Now, we're talking about 1,000 pages. And you know kind of the story on this. What happened is in June of this year, we legally obtained 90 pages, the most recent 90 pages of that manifesto. And we reported stories on it. It ended up where the local Chancery Court judge here in Tennessee ruled against us on ridiculous claims that the copyright of that manifesto was transferred from the parents of the killer to the parents of the Covenant School. Ridiculous. Nonetheless, she accepted that. We're appealing that in Tennessee State Court. But as in the federal court, we filed a lawsuit in May of 2023 to get all 1,000 pages of this manifesto, right? And what happened in that is, since I think May or June of this year, the federal district court judge has been reviewing in chamber all these documents, hasn't made a decision as to whether or not to release them. I don't think that judge probably will. It's probably waiting on this. After the election of Donald Trump, Our attorneys, Stan Lennington and others at the Wisconsin Institute of Law and Liberty, wrote a letter to the FBI and the Department of Justice, and they said, look, we will settle with you. I instructed our attorneys to cut their attorney fees by a certain amount in return for them releasing all those documents. And, of course, under the Biden administration, even in the transition, they said, oh, no, we won't do that. Okay. Well, guess what? Yesterday, our attorneys filed that same settlement offer with the FBI and with the Department of Justice. And even though neither Pam Bondi has been confirmed yet as the Attorney General, and even though Kash Patel has not yet been confirmed as the head of the FBI, we think there's a reasonable chance that the FBI will withdraw their objections to releasing these documents, and we will get them. If they don't say yes this time around, we'll just wait until Bondi is confirmed and Kash Patel is confirmed, and then we'll re-ask it. And we'll end up getting all 1,000 pages of the Covenant Killer Manifesto. We'll have it, and we'll write stories about it, and this will enlighten people about what motivates mass killers. We'll be back with more News Potpourri after this.
Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cell's Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. It's that time of day again. It's time for News Potpourri. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, News Potpourri. This is the portion of the program we're talking about those stories that are of note, don't necessarily merit a full segment, and may have a touch of irony. I talked a little bit earlier about Phil Williams, the political hack who is a, quote, investigative reporter for News Channel 5, the Scripps-owned leftist local television station here in Nashville, Tennessee. And he put out a very nasty political tweet last night. I have that for you. He's since deleted it for you. But let me read what he wrote last night in the moments after this air crash in Washington, D.C. that cost 67 lives. 67 lives. Quote, President Trump offered unprecedented buyouts to all federal employees at a time when studies show the FAA does not have enough air traffic controllers to keep us safe. More people will likely die. Now, obviously, he's blaming President Trump for this disaster. Matt Murphy, who is the afternoon host on WTN here in Nashville, the Cumulus-owned station, 99.7, the 100,000-watt FM powerhouse that's been a talk radio live and local for, 30 years, from 5A to 7P, maybe even longer than that. Matt said, I expect News Channel 5 will demand Phil Williams apologize for his horribly cold and insensitive political posts while humans are still in the water and no indication of the cause of this tragedy. Phil? ? Well, here's what Phil did. Deleted an earlier post because it unfortunately was interpreted as blaming tonight's tragedy on policies in Washington. That was certainly not my intent. As someone who has covered aviation safety for many, many years, I know you cannot suddenly pull people out of an ATC. Okay, so let's go back to this. Phil Williams, political hack at News Channel 5. Quote, it unfortunately was interpreted as blaming tonight's tragedy and policies in Washington. No, it wasn't interpreted. You exactly did blame it on policies in Washington and policies of Donald Trump. That was certainly not my intent, he says. Yes, it was. That was your intent. Matt Murphy said, here Phil Williams blames us for, quote, misinterpreting his post, a post where he clearly pointed the fingers at the Trump administration. So, okay, Phil Williams is absolutely a partisan left-wing political hack. If News Channel 5 had an ounce of integrity or an ounce of honesty, they would get rid of this guy, like now. But they don't, and they won't. So there you go. All right, a couple other things to talk about. The regime media, an interesting book has come out from the regime media, and I'm talking about a couple of reporters have written a book, Jonathan Allen of NBC News and Amy Parnes of The Hill. Remember, The Hill is owned by Nexstar Media, which owns about 100 television stations around the country, including here in Nashville, WKRN. And they also own this News Nation network that Chris Cuomo is now part of. Basically, the book, it does have quite an interesting title, Fight Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House. It's going to be published April 1st. And basically, it talks about how that disaster of a campaign thought, well, maybe if we get on Joe Rogan, we can fix this. And this story is how the Joe Rogan thing never happened. Okay, another story that's of note. Maybe you see this clip. Do you see this clip? So they're doing the hostage release from Gaza. and they're having these hostages literally run a gauntlet of a crazed, maddened crowd. They took this 80-year-old man. You got to go and watch this clip. 80-year-old man, and they marched him through this gauntlet, and it was like, I don't know, there were tens of thousands of people all yelling and screaming at him. And I think the guy was ultimately released, but the process of going through this gauntlet was so difficult for him that he had difficulty breathing. And as a result, right now, in part, we've got a breaking story that Israel has halted the release of Hamas prisoners. This is from the Times of Israel. This is to protest the Gaza release chaos. I'll just read the story. Israel has halted the release of Palestinian security prisoners set to be freed after the return of Israeli hostages in protests against the scenes of chaos surrounding the release of Arbel Yahud, Gadi Moses, and 5 Thai nationals. I think Arbel Yahud, was the 80-year-old man. And then Gadi Moses, I think, was like a young woman who they paraded through the streets, and they told her, you got to wave as if, you're saying goodbye to your close friends. It's all pretty bad. Actually, it's beyond pretty bad. So we got that going on as well. A couple of stories here on this terrible crash in Washington, D.C. Not good. That Black Hawk, was in that military base on the Virginia side of the water that is on the opposite side of the Potomac. That Black Hawk was in the air for only 9 minutes before the collision. And then our last story on that, turns out there were athletes and coaches on board that flight from the U.S. figure skating team. This according to Citizens Free Press. Okay, that's our program for today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 9 o'clock. I hope you have a great day. Go to TennesseeStar.com, TennesseeStar.com to see all our stories. And by tomorrow, we will have a vote on the Education Freedom Act. I think it's going to pass both the House and the Senate here in Tennessee, but we'll see. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Governor Bill Lee, and I want to talk to you about an important education bill in Tennessee. Everyone knows that education has the power to change the trajectory of a child's life forever. And anyone who's raised a child knows that each one's different in their educational needs, and their learning styles, and their talents. The fact is, parents know their own children best. They know what's best for their education and their future. That's why I'm here to talk to you about Tennessee's Education Freedom Act. It empowers parents across our state to use their tax dollars to choose the school that allows their child to thrive, regardless of zip code or income, all while making significant investments in Tennessee's public education. If you want to learn how you can help make the Education Freedom Act a reality in Tennessee, go to educationfreedomact.com and write or call your state representatives. It's educationfreedomact.com.
This ad is
The
paid
Chief
for by
Team
Job
reminds
Creators
listeners
Network.
here that more and more veterans will be returning home over the next few years, and many are local. These heroes have elite military training and valuable professional skills, but they also need jobs too. That's why the Chief Team is encouraging all local businesses. Let's make it the year we hire smart and hire veterans. That's from the Chief Team, where they say service isn't just a courtesy, it's a commitment. For more information, call 931-444-3572. That's 931-444-3572 for the Chief Team in Clarksville.
The Black preaching tradition is deeply connected to gospel music.
PBS presents a new series hosted by Henry Louis Gates Jr., Gospel.
Our singers preach and our preachers sing.
Gospel is a prayer. It is our heart's cry to God in lyrics and song.
You feel it deep down in your soul.
Gospel. Streaming now on the PBS app.